Yeah.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk as we connect, talk about what is coming up in the life of Lakeview Heights Baptist Church, and on cold mornings, share a hot drink, and on hot mornings, sometimes even go outside and get some fresh air. But no, it's great to connect with you. Of course, we love it when we connect Sundays and do it face to face with worship and our time together. But sometimes, we're here, there, and everywhere. Like I was last week. My family and I got away, though not all in the same place. This is a weird one for us. We had our oldest on a trip with friends. We had our youngest for half the week. We're off with grandparents. And Sheena and I got to hang out with adults.
Was it awkward?
Kind of nice. No.
Difficult, or?
Apparently you can have these things called conversations. No, it was fun. It was good. It was a good week to be away. We all, I had some really great time with our kids too. One of the things when we were on the coast, obviously fishing's huge. My son especially loves it. And very disappointed, I didn't think to check the current and updated regulations before we left home. So we packed all the fishing gear. And then as he's setting up on the dock one day, I'm like, I better just double check. No, it's all closed. Oh, no. It was really unfortunate. So we had to pull a line and find something else to do with our time. But and then we're like, we could do pickleball, only to find out that on Main Island there's this huge feud between the tennis players and the pickleballers.
Oh, no.
I feel like one of those groups is probably a lot faster than the other. But anyways, and so we're like, let's not take sides and weigh in on that one. So we avoided the tennis, pickleball, whatever courts, and depends on who you ask is what they're used for. But anyways, but we did have a good time away. It was really nice to connect with family and got to ride a lot of budget cruises. And by that I mean BC ferries. And no, it's good. It was just a great time away, and now we're back, and we've got a lot to look forward to, but let's not get there just yet. Let's look back. We have wrapped now another series as we finished the Divine Assignments. Jeff, you had us in a passage that I love because I love fruit, and I like growing fruit, and I like picking fruit, and...
Which fits for the Okanagan.
Which fits, well, and
the fruit basket.
It is, and it is really sad, I will say, and this is mostly me and mostly personal, every time some orchard trees get ripped up and they're not planted back with fruit trees, a little bit of me dies inside, I'll just say. So I'm doing my part. I'm planting trees in my backyard, which is not large enough for my liking, but oh well.
So you mentioned you liked planting, you like growing, you like picking.
Yeah.
Can I do the eating part?
Yeah, if I don't beat you to it.
Okay, you just didn't mention the eating. So.
I didn't. You know what? We have this tradition in our house. The first raspberry of the season, not just fruit trees, raspberries too. We have raspberries, and the first raspberry of the season always goes to Sheena. That's like this, and usually the first peach. And Ezra was very disappointed because we were away for fruit season last year on sabbatical, and the other day he was even just like expressing his still pent up frustration that Sheena didn't get the first raspberry of the season last year because we were away. So he's like, we cannot miss it this year, Dad. We're gonna like, okay. Anyways, so one of the first thing we planted in our backyard was a fruit salad tree. And here's how my brain connects this, right? You're talking about remaining in, right, the branch. And it is for me, every time I go back there, this image of ingrafted branches, which is not the passage you were preaching on, but I think it's connected, because that's more Paul's image, right? That we as Gentiles, as outsiders, not the originators of the faith, God brings and grafts in, right? He connects that branch, and it takes... not root, but it just starts growing as part of the tree. And so I have an apricot tree, which is the original stock. And in it are golden plums and prune plums. And there used to be nectarines, but the nectarine died off. And then I pruned that sucker back and freed up space. And every winter I'm out there pruning and cutting back. All so that, and I prune and I cut so that there will be better fruit. And I could leave it and I might have more fruit, but it's not going to be as good a fruit. And it will be wild and untamed, and it will be a mess. So we cut back our trees. Now, you said Jesus uses this imagery to talk about us and how our divine assignment, you kind of said was, and I just want to create space for you to sort of clarify a couple things, because you sort of said it was to remain. I mean, you definitely said it was to remain, but you also sort of said it was to bear fruit,
Right.
but then you almost sounded like you sort of half retracted that. And I know that our focus really is to remain. We've talked about again and again as this, so-and-so was faithful in their, or was, they fulfilled their divine assignment in being faithful.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of what you were getting about. You want to just sort of elaborate on that? Like, is the divine assignment just to remain, or is it to bear fruit, or is it both, or,
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Anything to share, elaborate on that one.
I think I would say it is both.
Yeah.
But the focus is what's important, right? We can get the idea that we're supposed to bear fruit and go out and try really hard to bear fruit.
Yeah.
And that's what Jesus is saying you can't do. You can't go out and produce fruit. Yes, the goal is fruit, but the way you do it is by focusing on me, remaining in me, right? That's your power for producing fruit. So the goal is fruit. So yes, that's our divine assignment, but we do it by remaining in Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So we do it by plugging into Jesus, making sure that we're plugged into Jesus, asking for the Spirit to fill us, as God says, be filled with the Spirit. That's actually not something we can do either, but we can open ourselves up to it by being connected, right? And so, so I think that was kind of the idea. Is not that no, don't worry about the fruit, and no, we're not supposed to worry, but don't think about the fruit. Yes, we can think about the fruit, but the focus is on the vine. Does that make sense? The focus is on Jesus.
Right. Well, yes, it makes sense. And I think, we talked a little bit before we hit record that every metaphor breaks down in some level. And I think one of them is that my apricot branch never thinks about whether or not it's an apricot.
Yeah, right.
We think all the time. Some of us all the
Yeah.
time. Doesn't stop. About 9 things at once. Sorry, just pictured a squirrel running across my tree. Anyways, right? So it doesn't, no branch thinks about what it's going to bear, but I think we do, right? We worry about, and I feel like this is where Paul brings in some really helpful imagery of a body, right? I might look at the golden plum branches and go, man, I want to do that. I want to produce a golden plum. And I think this is kind of where you were getting at, right? We think, I want to do that, and yet we're not. God has wired us in a particular way. If I'm an apricot branch, God's wired me, made me to make apricots. Yeah. And I do that best by remaining in the tree, not by cutting myself off and jumping to another branch and trying to fit in there or whatever, right? I feel like that's really where we kind of get stuck a little bit. We almost get gifted or calling jealousy. We'll see someone else doing something awesome, be like, oh God, why didn't you call me for that? Yeah. And really it's like, hold on. We can really miss something good that God has made us to do. There's this quote by Rick Warren. He talks about, in a TED Talk of all things, and I think I've referenced it before, but he talks about how God is most pleased when you just are who he made you to be. Huge paraphrase. I haven't seen it in a few years. Right? But that's his whole gist of it is you really want to, make God smile and just do what he made you to do.
And I think that's where he knows exactly who he made us to be. Yeah. So in that metaphor with your fruit salad tree, I love that because each branch is unique in God's vine, right? Yeah. Each branch is unique and has unique fruit that it's going to produce, and he knows which fruit, and he has the power to produce it. So we remain in him, and in remaining in him, he helps us understand what kind of fruit we're to bear, right? And how to do it. But we don't do that by looking at the other branches and saying, oh, those are cherries, I want to do that. And those are apples, I want to do that. It's remaining in Jesus and having him tell us what, and working together with him to find out who he has made us to be. right?
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, we haven't touched on peaches yet, which of course are the superior fruit.
Oh, peaches are
but
great,
anyways,
yeah.
Kevin, you've been awfully quiet there. Anything you want to weigh in on?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
this one?
Ramp it all up for us?
I kind of want to go back to where, sometimes the metaphor breaks down, where we talk about that sense of, okay, remain.
Yeah.
There's sort of two things kind of jumping back and forth in my mind, but like when we say remain, when Jesus says remain, I think he also is saying there's maybe a balance to that as well too, because I could also see somebody reading this passage and then saying, okay, I don't have to do anything but just pray and read my Bible. Like,
Right.
I'm done. I
Yeah.
remain, and I just look at Jesus and I just praise and whatever. That's not at all what Jesus is talking about, because he's also talking about fruit, bearing fruit. And so maybe the other thing jumping around in my mind is, what is Jesus meaning by fruit? So, I'd love to even just
He
look
means
at,
olives.
he means-
Sorry.
yeah.
But what did he mean by fruit? Yeah.
But like, even looking at the context of that, what is Jesus looking towards to say, well, this is fruit. Like, this is actually what I'm trying to get you guys to go towards, that like, you could almost even say, success, check mark, done,
Yeah.
right? And what is that? And Jeff, I think you really brought it home by saying, when Jesus sat his disciples down and said, a new command I give you, right? It's two sides of that same coin. That if you actually want to do the will of God, it is love God.
Yeah.
And flip the coin, love others.
Yeah.
That is what I believe Jesus is meaning when he says, you will produce fruit. You will produce fruit of the Spirit, that is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. Like, it has so much to do with, yes, remaining in him, yes, focusing on his Spirit at work within you, and at the exact same time, his Spirit not just churning here, but actually being in action
Yes.
here, right? So it's stirring and action all at the same time. That does need to happen. That I think Jesus is pointing towards and saying, fruit. This is fruit, right? And
Yeah.
just really bringing it home with when he just said, listen, if you can boil it down to this, a new command I give you, love one another.
Yeah, totally. Well, and you know that's so good, Kevin. Thank you, because it's so easy, like you started with, to hear remain and think that's just good. God's calling me to be idle, to just be. And you're absolutely right to bring us back to that. When Jeff, you were talking about that love passage, the thing that sort of sparked in me was, how often is that command to love actually about connection to? Right? We love God by remaining in God, by staying connected to him, by walking in relation. We love others by connecting, staying in relation. One of the things that to carry over from the fruit tree metaphor, trees need a little bit of stress. They need some weather. They're not they not extremes. I mean, you've probably heard the fruit growers talk about how this last winter, because it was so cold, so fast, all that kind of wrecked some things. But we actually do need some exposure to some stuff, and often we find that by living in relationship with other people.
Yeah.
Right? If we just sort of stay in our home, stay disconnected, connected to God, but disconnected from everything else, we're actually not going to be good at producing fruit either.
Yep.
And so thanks for wrapping us up by bringing us back to that, Kevin, because that's such a great note to end it on. Even though community can be hard, it actually helps us bear better fruit.
Yeah.
And
it
so
sure does.
thank you for
Yeah.
that. Speaking of community, just some stuff to look ahead. This is coming out like on Good Friday or like right before
On
Good
Thursday,
Friday.
yep.
Depending on whether or not you're going to hold a really Jewish tradition, it starts on whatever. It's like coming out on Easter. It's Easter weekend. We're all excited. The kids already got to contact Sugar High. We're all geared up. Lots going on. Who wants to go first on the happenings of this weekend? One of you had the Friday description.
So Friday, which I think if you're watching this on Thursday, is tomorrow. We are meeting at Emmanuel Church at 10, and we will have a church where the churches on the west side, a lot of the churches on the west side are gathering together at one spot, and different pastors and leaders will be involved in that service and leading that service, and we'll all be involved in participating in that service, and it's just a really good time to remember the meaning of Good Friday, of what Jesus did. And where did you, I keep on hearing this phrase, and I think it came from you, Friday is good because Sunday is coming. What is that?
Oh, I can't.
Oh, okay. So there's more coming on that. So stay tuned. Come Friday, come Sunday, maybe you'll hear that. But anyways, it's a great celebration to anticipate Sunday coming. So Sunday, you're going to tell about.
Well, and I would say too, like you said, these different churches are gathering. Actually, the Church of the West Side is gathering, right? And that's what makes it really exciting. I would also say come early.
Yes, there's hard to find parking sometimes. Yeah.
And and there's also a kids program as well too. So
Yeah, especially if you have kids, make sure you're there early to register, or register them and get them connected. I have a special role to play in that. No, all
Yes,
of
you do.
us who are leading have different roles, and I'm
no,
excited
great.
for it.
Yeah.
I got to find a flashlight.
Big bright one.
Big bright one. I know.
Yeah.
I am tempted just to borrow our spot. I'm not gonna lie, that'd be really funny to me. Because
if you want 575 watts, go for
I'm
it.
supposed to shine it in kids' faces, so maybe I should.
Here's your kid, blind.
Your kids seeing spots. Anyways, but yes, that's great. Thanks, Jeff. And then Kevin, on Sunday.
Sunday morning, we're gathering in this room, and we're going to have tables set up, and we're going to have breakfast together, just a light breakfast, to share with one another some eggs and scones and whatnot, and start off the day with a coffee and just a conversation with somebody across the table, and to just say he is risen, and to just enjoy that morning. And that starts at 9. And then at 10 o'clock, we start in the sanctuary, and we will celebrate together that he sought, he saved.
Beautiful. That's great. Thank you, guys. So Easter, look forward to worshiping with you on Easter. Couple other things, kids related. First off, starting Tuesday, April 2nd, it's the return-ish. We've got some moms getting together. I already mentioned when I was away on holidays how it's nice to have adult conversation. Some of the moms in our church are going to be gathering on Tuesday mornings. I'm going to look up the time to make sure I say it right. But on Tuesday mornings in our church nursery, if you've got wee little ones and you just want to come, let your kids play while you can connect with some other moms, it'd be great to have you there. It's going to start at 9:30. Go just kind of drop in till 9:30 till 11:30, starting Tuesday, April 2nd. If you got wee little kids and want to be part of that,
Or if you know a mom with little
Well,
kids
that's true.
that wants connection. right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got a neighbor, maybe it's your daughter and grandchild, whatever. Bring them along, send them along. They'll be here. That's coming back. And then Friday, April 5, is the next installment of Friday.
Yay!
Yay! And so I'd love to have kids grades 3 to 6 join us at 6:30, from 6:30 to 8 Friday evening. Just for a night of games, fun, and a little Bible lesson here in this space and the auditorium and all of that. So those things to look forward to if you've got kids in those ages. Other than that, I think that's kind of it. That's probably enough for now.
Oh, yeah.
There's always things ahead on the horizon, but we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So thanks for spending a few minutes with us this week, and we'll connect again soon.